Watergate and spoke into the urinal. I got through, too. Seen that new Nixon commemorative stamp? You don't have to lick it, you just look at it and it sweats itself onto the envelope. Then we had Jerry Ford, never blame him for our troubles. He didn't do anything. Everybody said that Jerry Ford was a bland president, not too exciting. I don't know about you, but I want my president to be bland. I don't want him to know how to work the media. Now, there's such a thing as reincarnation. I'm sure Jerry Ford would come back as yogurt. Every time I saw him on television, I thought I lost the color on my set. Then we had Jimmy Carter. Carter. Nice man, Jimmy Carter. Had a great smile, great teeth. You know that man could eat a pineapple through a tennis racket? You put a guy like Jimmy Carter in charge of inflation, it's kind of like putting Roseanne in charge of the Twinkies. Then we had Ronald Reagan, an actor. Could start a trend. Well, I don't get these actors going into politics like Mario Cuomo, the brother of Perry Como. Ronald Reagan not long ago announced bravely that he has Alzheimer's and he's looking forward to the sunset of his life. So Ronald Reagan bravely announced not long ago that he has Alzheimer's and he's looking forward to the sunset of his life. George Bush was envoy to China, chairman of the Republican Party, an ambassador, congressman, head of the CIA, vice president, president. Man cannot hold a job. He's dealing with Dan Quayle all those years. Remember when George Bush had that heart flutter? They alerted Dan Quayle to stand by? The whole country had a heart flutter. Dukakis is gone. When I first heard the name Dukakis, I thought he got it off the bottom of an eye chart. Weird name, doesn't it? Sound like a gum disease. I got Dukakis all here. What kind of a name would that be for a president, Dukakis? I mean, where are the Washingtons and the Jeffersons and the Johnsons? Well, they're playing basketball. Well, in '88, I went down to Atlanta and got thrown out by the Democrats, and I ran a Republican before. Now, what's the difference between a Democrat and a Republican? Tell you what I think it is. The average Democrat belongs to the Lions Club, and the average Republican belongs to the Country Club. Now, there's a connection between these organizations. The drainage system from the Country Club is the water supply for the Lions Club. You give a cow to a Democrat, he'll milk that cow, keep some for himself, give the rest to poor people. Give that same cow to a Republican, he'll hire a Democrat to milk it at less than a living wage, then he'll suggest there's a milk shortage and sell it at inflated prices. Of course, this enables him to buy a bull. With this bull, he makes a lot more cows, which he hires a lot more Democrats to milk. So you can see that the Republican does to the Democrat what the bull did to the cow. Anyway, a lot of name-calling in '88. I did not indulge in name-calling, unlike my sock-sucking scumbag opponents. They said I wasn't involved in the mainstream. While I drink, I drive recklessly, I chase after women, and still Lloyd Bentsen had the nerve to say, "You're no Ted Kennedy." Then they said I was once a member of the Hare Krishna. Well, it was only for a couple of hours at the airport trying to get money for a connecting flight. Then they said I hit on a guy in a gay bar. Well, there weren't any women there. What the heck was I to do? Then they said I ignored the drug problem. Well, I wrote books on drugs. I gave speeches on drugs. I did darn near everything on drugs. No. 92 was a good year for me. I got on 4 ballots. We'll get to 96 in a minute. 4 primary ballots. I couldn't get on any more because they have them on Tuesday, and that's my bowling night. So this is true. I went to New Hampshire, got 800 votes. Did not go to Louisiana, got 1,500 votes. Went to Kansas, campaigned 2 days, got twice as many votes as David Duke, and he dropped out. Went to North Dakota, got more votes than Ross Perot. This is true. Now, I'm not going to do any jokes about Ross Perot because the last thing I need right now is another credit check. Ross Perot worships the very people he walks on. He's back at his old job modeling for Mad Magazine. And, of course, we elected in '92 Bill Clinton from Arkansas. First man from Arkansas to become president. In fact, the first man from Arkansas to become anything. Bill Clinton recently fibbed on his tax returns. He put himself down as head of household. Of course, Al Gore is our vice president. I've been trying to get him to run with me, but I can't find him. Al Gore is kind of like Jerry Ford without the pizzazz. Al Gore has to stay inside the buildings now because the pigeons have mistaken him for a statue. Now, they're doing a science fiction movie about Al Gore. I'd like to hear about it, called Invasion of the Personality Snatchers. All about Al. Well, I ran in 1972. You know what got me in trouble then? I'd have done a lot better if it hadn't been for issues. Well, that was a long time ago. I'm older and wiser now. I think I know it's bothering most of you Americans, so it's tough for a lot of families to survive. In my family, we're now eating the cheaper cuts of meat. Last night, we had roast chicken faces. You know, I make all of my own shoes now out of the skin that forms on chocolate pudding. Everything's so expensive these days, too, even drugs. I don't do drugs, folks. I'm from a different era. Didn't grow up with drugs. I did try Coke once, and I'll get the thrill of that. It took me an hour to get the bottle out of my nose. Well, I don't do drugs. Well, once in a while I shoot up on Preparation H, but funny how my mind's starting to shrink doing that stuff. Other issues facing. I'll tell you what hasn't worked, Social Security. Now, they started Social Security in the 30s to solve the old people problem, and now we got more old people who have had before. Those old buggers all over the place. Getting in elevators, walking slow, dribbling food down their chin, leave their fly open, drive you crazy, old people. Oh, I see that. The energy situation. For a while, we weren't supposed to have big cars. I think big cars are necessary sometimes because I cannot imagine a Hugo hearse going down the street. The legs hanging out the back, little red flag in the toe, that'd look weird. So if we ever have another gas crisis, as I said before, we have an overabundance of old people, why don't we just find a way of converting old people into gas? Well, you got regular, no lead, and Grandpa Ned. You could call it fossil fuel or something. Of course, I'm kidding. I mean, we take care of the old folks in our family. Grandma Paulsen lived right with us. We built a little lean-to in the back, and she was good company for the dog. Reminds me of a story of a little old lady sitting in the bar says, all right, anybody tells me what I have in my hand, get to take me home tonight. Guy down the end of the bar, she's got an elephant. She says, well, it seems we have a winner here. I know an old guy went down to get his Social Security, forgot his papers. You can't get your Social Security unless you have your papers. He says, wait a minute, open up his coat and says, look at those gray hairs. So they give him his Social Security. Went back home, his wife said, how'd you get your Social Security? Forgot your papers. Well, I just opened up the coat, showed him my gray hairs. She said, well, you should have dropped your pants. You could have got disability. See, I can do old jokes. I'm one of them, so don't send me any damn letters. Environmentally, I've always been very strong. I've always felt the major cause of forest fires is trees. Cut them down, get them out if they're their problem. Did that in Arizona. No, trees are just rocks, which is good because a bird can't crap on you from a rock. This is not an issue, but people talk about it. You know those phone services where you get any information on agriculture, sports cars? You know, it's one of those phone services. Jehovah's Witness. Yeah, I call them every morning at 5 o'clock. See how they like it. Called one of those fantasy phone lines. Some guy started talking dirty to me. I was so outraged. I called my congressman, and the same guy answered. Then on top of that, I got an ear infection, but I was good at that. The Indian problem. I felt we should attack. Well, they still got some land we haven't taken away from them. I tell you, the Indians would have done a lot better if they'd had tougher immigration laws. Now, I can talk about Indians because I'm part Chippewa myself. I don't know if you know this, but the Chippewa...